pull, make that uncomfortable there. Hey guys, it's been a while, my apologies, but we're back with something I think very, very useful for a lot of people. Something happened a couple of days ago where she's always been really good at being tied up and being showered and bathed and all that stuff, but the other day I tied her up and everything was going fine, and then a little bit of water got in her face and she just put her head up a little bit. The back of the halter caught the back of her head, and she was hard tied that time because I thought she was really, really good. And throughout the training, she's been progressing very well. But she ended up hitting the back of that halter and went into an absolute frenzy. I mean, she was pulling. I was lucky that she didn't rip her head off her neck. That's how hard she was pulling. And the halters that I use, they're very strong, stiff rope, and even that I struggled very hard to try and untie it after I got done with the whole ordeal. And then she ended up slipping. She fell. She was hanging from her head. You know, it should have been something that we got caught on camera, but unfortunately it happened without me being able to show you exactly how bad it was. The next day I came out and I tried to take her into the showering area. She just wouldn't go. Actually, no, she did. She went in very easily, and I just loosely kept the rope on top of the railing there. Did one and then another loop, so if she did pull back, it would be easy for her. I used this really long line just in case she needed to pull back, that, you know, she wouldn't hit the end of this rope. But to my amazement, as soon as she felt the back of that halter again, she pretty much pulled all of the rope, got to the end of it, it flicked off the railing, and then she flipped over backwards, almost hit her head on the concrete. From then on, it was just extreme. You know, everything with Sapphire here is extreme. So I don't think that most people will experience that level of extreme fear of being tied up. But that means not only can I not tie her up to shower her and groom her, but I can guarantee you that it would be an impossible task to get her to stand inside a trailer being tied without her panicking. And obviously we've got to give her back at some point. So no matter how good the groundwork is, no matter how good the riding is, if I can't actually fix this, the tying up issue, then everything else is going to be wasted, because, you know, you would never be able to take her anywhere. So that's what today is all about. Today is all about us probably showing you how we're going to work with her. And then it may take a day, it may take 2 or 3 or 4, but I'll compile all the clips and I'll make it into one video so you can see the entire thing from start to finish. Now, I'll explain a little bit about the tools that we're going to be using to make this as efficient and as safe as possible for myself and for Sapphire. And I'll explain the psychology behind it, and I'll just talk you through the whole thing as we normally do. But just to start off, I've just got her out of her stable, let her roll, let her just relax and chill for a bit. You'll see that she's pretty connected. There's no issues there. I can put the halter on and off, it's fine. I can groom her, I can saddle her, I can ride her. You know, all of that is still fine. The only big issue is that when she feels that tension on the back of the halter, which is basically this part here, when this pulls on the back of her head, that's when she panics. So I'm just going to work her a little bit because, number one, it's good for her. We haven't been in the round pen for a couple of weeks now, and you know, it's all been in the big arena. So I'm just going to work her a little bit because I need her to have a comparison between being moved and then kind of appreciating the opportunity to stand still and just relax. Okay, so let's just send her off. Wrong way. She's already asking, can I come in? saying no, we need to work a little bit. And I think one of the important things to understand about working horses is that you pretty much, it is incredibly difficult to get a horse to get tired. Okay, so the whole idea is not to get her tired so that she stands still. It's just to give her that contrast of, okay, if I asked you, you're watching the video now. If I asked you just to do, I don't know, not something too drastic, like can you walk from one end of the room to the other and then do one push-up and then come back to this side of the room and then do another push-up and then get up and go back to the other room, do another push-up. It's not incredibly hard work, but it's something that you would think, well, that's hard work compared to me just sitting on the sofa. So I need her to understand that, or need to get her to the point where she understands, oh, this is a bit of hard work, and then the tying up is the relaxation point, where she can appreciate, okay, there's a bit of a contrast in exercises here. So she's asking, can I change or can I come in? I'll say, sure, but that's the wrong way to change directions, little lady. This way, and then go that way. If you didn't have an arena, or even if you didn't want to work your horse in this manner, you could always do, just on a lunge line, a little bit of trotting, changes of direction, that yield the hind, yield the front, backing up, something that requires a little bit of effort, and then you can get them just to stand. And that would be enough to, for certain horses, enough for them to appreciate the contrast in what you're asking them to do. So literally that was a few rounds to the left, a few rounds to the right. And I'm pretty much going to stop it in a couple of laps here. She's asking, I'm going to say, yeah, sure, come on in. That's fine. Good girl. So, rather than getting her to stand tied to a hard fence with no give whatsoever, I'm actually going to start with a very long line, and I'm just going to start with a very, let me put it this way. Being a horseman, being a horse trainer, you've got to think of creative ways of fixing problems. You can't just always go on YouTube, find how do I fix X, Y, Z, and then just go for one method and then keep trying that. You've got to develop the ability to be a little bit creative with what it is that you're trying to get done. But the most important is the fundamentals, right? So what is it that I want to achieve at the end of this? I want her to be able to stand tied, and even if she gets a little bit panicky, if she feels the back of that halter pressing on the back of her neck, that her response is to move forwards so that she releases that pressure herself, and that there's no need for her to panic and really pull back and all of that. So one of the easiest ways is for me just to walk backwards, maybe a little bit faster than she's walking, and then give her a bit of a pull on the back of that halter and see where we are. That would be the first step. Second step is I'm going to be using my my flag to do the same thing. Once she's good at just coming forwards off of that pressure, I'm going to actually be flagging her above her head and then walking backwards and pulling on the rope, making sure that I make contact with the back of her head so that she's got to move into pressure and almost ignore my flag and listen to the back of that halter, if that makes sense. So let's just start. So there, I'm going to hold until she comes forwards, and that's the release. So you can see, even just off of my my hand pressure, she felt the need to, you know, bolt backwards. And I've got to be careful with the skin on my hands because she can easily rip this out of my hands. Okay, so that was the first time. She didn't quite figure out that she had to come forwards off of that halter pressure to get that relief. She hit the end of that arena. She bumped into the fence, and that told her that she couldn't go back any further. So therefore, she came forwards, and she got the release of that pressure. So again, there we go. There we go. Good girl. So that time it was a little bit less of a panic. Good girl. She didn't actually hit the end of the arena there. And the reaction that I had from her literally was up there with the worst case of being tied up that I've ever seen. The only other horse that I've witnessed was one time in a different stable, and it wasn't a horse that I was working with, but somebody had tied their horse up, and then the horse just pulled back and ended up laying down. There we go. Laying down with his head pretty much tangled up. And I had to run, get a knife, and cut the rope to let the horse free. And that horse was quite an easy horse to fix, to be honest. I didn't really use this technique, this methodology with the horse. I just went straight in for other things, and that seemed to work. With her, I'm being a little bit different. The point is, you don't have to follow a particular step-by-step method. If you understand the concept, you can become creative. Good. Well done. There. Well done. And this time I'm going to go in and I'm going to touch her right in between the eyes. Tell her, you're absolutely fine. Well done. Again. There. Good girl. Good girl. Even with this, she's already, on the other side of her face, she's already got a little bit of a rub. There you go. Good girl. She's already rubbed off a little bit of that skin. These things happen. Good girl. Well done, Sapphire. I do have a bit of hope. Good. Good. Good girl. Now, let's just send her back and then stop her with that halter pressure. Release. An important technique that I've learned to understand, or I've learned over the years, is not to pull, not to actively pull, but to anchor your elbow, anchor your arm so that you're holding steady, okay? And then when the horse comes forwards, then there's no additional boom when the horse gives, you know? So imagine that you're in a tug of war and then the other person lets go. The first thing that happens is you pull. So, but if you're just standing and holding, as in anchoring yourself, if they let go, that's fine. The rope just becomes slack. So here, anchor, release. Anchor, release. You see, I'm not falling back and delaying that release. It's immediate. It's instantaneous relief when she takes a step forwards. For me, she's doing good. This is very, very good progress. If you just remind yourself of what the first time that I pulled on her looked like, and now much, much better. So the next level is, I'm going to ask her, first of all, we're going to desensitize. Let her know that I'm not asking you to move. You're not meant to be afraid of anything that I use. Remember? Good Sapphire. Okay? So this time, I'm going to be flagging her and then asking her to come forwards into pressure. Well done. Then I release. Flag her. Ask her to come into pressure. Release. Flag. Come into pressure. Release. Good girl. That touch in between the eyes just lets them know they're in the right place. They don't need to worry about anything. Good. That was much softer. Still stiff on my hand. Required a little bit of, felt like a little bit of force had to go into that, but much better. There we go. Good. Now let's move her back. And now let's pull her forwards. Perfect. So for me, very, very good. Almost good enough for us to take it to the next level. So before I actually do this, I want to explain it to you and show you the tools that I have so that you understand the concept of how this works. So I've basically, hopefully this doesn't snap, but I've got what is called a tie ring. Okay, you can get these from various places. This particular one is from Clinton Anderson, Down Under Horsemanship, but there are many, many models that you can use. And basically what you do is you can just pop that open, make a little bit of a loop in your rope, you slide that through, and then you just close that. Now, when the horse pulls back, there's a little bit of give. You can see that, okay? When the horse pulls back, the horse can pull relatively easy. I mean, I'm not using that much force, so for her, it must feel like nothing, okay? Then when she's good with, and the thing that does is that it doesn't tie her solid to something. So she can realize, okay, well, I'm pulling back, I've got the ability to run away and escape from the danger. And then when she stops, she's got an immediate relief of that pressure. There's nothing pulling back on her. She's the one that's creating that pull. And once she realizes that, it's game over. She's pretty much, dare I say it, fixed, okay? Then what you can do is you can add another loop onto this thing and increase the resistance that this rope has, or that this tie ring has. And then there's a third setting where it makes it pretty stiff and pretty solid, but the horse, if it does pull back, it can still pull the rope out, but with a lot more resistance. And then the final stage is tie her solid to the rail and try to spook her a little bit and see what happens, okay? So first level is, I'm going to just see what she does. Never, ever, ever, ever make a loop and then put your fingers inside that loop. Always keep, your fingers on the outside of anything. So if I'm doing this, I'm not going to do this and grab it like that. I'm not going to put my finger or my hand in this direction or anything like that. Always make sure that if the horse wanted to pull away, that it'll just pull the rope away without injuring your hands or your fingers. So I create that loop, I put it in, now she's tied. Now the first thing that I'm going to do, maybe if you, I don't know how the camera is, but maybe if you give a little space so you show the whole thing, I'm going to shoo her away. You're meant to make this exciting, please. I already built you up and I told everybody that you were crazy and ridiculous and this is the worst case that we've ever had. I want you to do something. So what I might do is actually get my flag. Very good. Very good. Okay, I'm sorry about this, guys, but it may only take one session to fix this. So I'm going to pull it short again. Okay. I want her to hit the back of that. Excellent. Very nice. Well done, Sapphire. Good girl. She's even listening. Good girl. Well done. And it may be the case that because we're not next to the washing area, that maybe she's not connecting the dots. Maybe it's going to get worse at the wash area, and we will test that out. She's doing really well here. Then, you know, we do want to make sure that she's over all of her issues. This time I'm going to run. Good. But these are amazing, amazing tools that you can use. Well done. Let's see what happens if I just leave her to go get my flag. She stands nicely. Look at that. That is just beautiful. Again, scare out of nowhere. Not a single movement in the feet. She threw her head up, but the feet are what tells you whether she's got it or not. Good. What if I just go up to her and touch her? Good. And obviously I'm doing this in an attempt to scare her a little bit so that she's got that flight mode. Because I want her to go into flight, hit the end of the lead rope, and then see what she does. Is she thinking, or is she, good girl, or is she reacting? Is she responding or reacting? Good girl. Well done. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make her feel a bit more resistance. So if you come a bit closer, I'll show you how we do the next level. So we take the rope under, open that tie ring, and just lay it on top of that first loop. And then once that's down, now she's tied a little bit more solid. She doesn't know it yet. But let's see how she responds, how she reacts to this. Now there's going to be more pressure on the back of that halter. I need her to move a little bit. Perfect. Excellent. She's felt that extra pressure. Very nice. Well done, young lady. Let's just get this back up here. There we go. Excellent. So that was a little bit of that panic response that came in. That was really good for me to see because she didn't continue to pull. She ended up just kind of hitting the end of that rope, struggling a little bit, and then took a step forwards, and she got that full release. Another minute detail that makes a big difference is I'm going to leave a lot of slack in this rope once she starts to move back, she's got a little bit of space to move, and then all of a sudden the rope halter catches. Again, I need to make sure that she understands that she doesn't need to pull back. All she needs to do is come forwards. So we create all of these situations for her to test it out and to understand. So now she doesn't know that she's tied. Good. So even though I was waving the flag, she walked into that pressure of me waving the flag to release the pressure on the back of her head. Good. Well done. Now she's saying, nope, I'm not going to hit the end of that lead rope. I've understood that this is where I can just sit chilled and relax. No need for me to do anything else. So I'll pull her back in. Okay. Under, over, pull. Ask her. Excellent. It was that slight give in that rope that allowed her to calm down and to figure out what she had to do. If that rope didn't slide through, she would have continued to struggle, I think. Good girl. Bring her back in. Thing is also, you don't want to overdo anything. So last time here, if she does the right thing, and I feel like she's being really good, I might just untie this whole thing, do a little bit of work here, with her here, and then take her to the wash area. And then we start the filming again and see if we've progressed at all. That's what I'm talking about. So we haven't quite fixed it yet. She hasn't figured it out. So she's got to figure out that she does not need to get into that panic, into that struggle to fight against that rope. All she has to do is just stop. Yes, like that. Exactly. Well done. Oops. Good girl. Well done. I'm just going to stand here a little bit, let her just chill. Get her back in a nice relaxed state. No need to keep her in high vibration mode. Much better. Well done. Well done. That was much better. You can see, because of that chewing and licking there, it's kind of, and the blinking of the eyes, the changing of the sides of the ears, that it tells me that she wasn't as panicked as all the times beforehand. Good girl. Never ever become complacent thinking that your horse is perfect during training and start to mess around with your fingers, putting them into places that they shouldn't be going. Good girl. Well done. Okay, now one thing that's just popped into my mind is that she's been seeing me from the right eye this entire time. Job done? Not at all. That means she's only seen me from this side. This whole session hasn't been done from the other side of her body, from the other eye. Good. Good. Well done. Well done, baby. Good job. So I'm putting on the least resistance. Good. And I'm pleased that I remembered that, because she pulled back quite a bit there. Good girl. Remember, releasing with your pressure when she does the thing that you're looking for. So in this instance, it was really changing the thinking from pulling back to just changing the thinking to going forwards. And at that point, I release that pressure. Good girl. Now let's get her to move. Tap the rope. Good. I'm gonna pull her forwards. Tap her back. Good. Pull her forwards. Tap her back. Still, I go with the pressure. There. I release it. That should have been a good demonstration as to when to release that pressure. She's leaning back. This is just annoying. I'm going to help her. Tell her you need to come forwards. There we go. Release. Good girl, Sapphire. Well done. Beautiful. So right here, she's not pulling on the back of that, on the rope, so even though she's not thinking of forwards, she's not going to come forwards. So at least she's not pulling, so I just give up and I quit. Or in other words, I release the pressure. Good girl. Well done. That's what we want. We want that step forwards. Good job. I'm really hoping that you guys can extrapolate that initial reaction that she gave me when just my hands, I pulled back on the rope, how she just flew backwards. Just imagine her being tied up to a fence, rock solid, you know, hard tied to a fence, what the reaction could have been. It was pretty bad. Right. So again, to take it off, I'm just going to push that through, make sure that there's nothing that is able to catch my fingers. Well done. Now, the questions I'm asking myself is, okay, what went well? What didn't go well? What would I do? What would I have done differently next time? So what went well is that I think that we came up with a relatively logical way of introducing this concept to her that she does not need to pull back. I didn't start with the tie ring. I just started with my hands in a round pen in a safe place where, you know, she can't run back 2 kilometers. She's only going to go a few meters and then hit the fence. So that kind of worked in my favor. Then we used the pressure to get her to ignore the pressure and walk into it with the flag and just listen more to that halter pressure on the back of her head. So therefore we rewired her thinking a little bit to think, I know this game. I can beat this system. I know the answer. So she started walking forwards. Then we went on the least amount of resistance on the settings of this tie ring. Then we increased that setting, and then, you know, we did it on both sides, and I think it went perfectly. Anything that I would have done differently? I don't think so. I think we did everything relatively well, you know. Yeah, I think it just went well. But there are 3 good questions that you should be asking yourself after every session or every section of a session. You know, what did I do well? What went well? What didn't go so well? You know, sometimes you've got a plan in mind and it just doesn't go to plan. Okay, well, if it didn't go well, what exactly did not go well? And what would you do differently next time? That keeps feeding into your creativity. Come up with different ideas, different solutions, becoming more creative in solving problems, and really never running out of options. So I've always, for many years, I've practiced asking myself those questions, and it's just become a habit of mine now. And I'd recommend everybody to try it out. You know, just stepping out of the world of horses just for a second. If you're in a position at work where you manage a team of people, or you manage an entire business, or you manage a country, I think asking yourself these three questions and always forcing your mind to come up with different options and different ideas in tackling a certain issue really helps you be the most flexible person in that room. And the more flexible you are, I'm talking about mentally flexible, the more you're able to control the situation. The more stubborn you are, if you've only got one or two options and you say, well, that's all I know and that's all I'm going to do, then the least control you're going to have over that room. And I think in today's leaders, especially in the corporate world, I think that is required more and more and more. So leaders of today are not the people that know everything and just direct and bark orders at people. It's the people that are able to understand different points of views and be neutral to really figure out which bit of each argument really has the most impact on a particular situation. And I think that's really what puts you in a position of being a good leader. I think we talked about this in one of the videos before, but it was, you know, I remember the camera, not the camera, the mic wasn't working too well, so it was I don't think everybody or anybody could hear what we were saying. Anyway, we're gonna cut the video right here, and I'm gonna restart it when I get close to the wash basin. So hopefully she'll give us extra stuff to work on there, and if she doesn't, then fair enough. You know, I'm happy for her that she's got over her issues. So in fact, what I'm gonna do, because many people watching this may not have, you know, at your disposal, you may not have one of these tie rings. So we're actually going to use a different method to show you how it's done. So you see this? This is resistance right here. So let's see what she chooses. Does she choose to pull back on me when I increase that pressure? She does. There, I release. She pulls back, I release. I release when she comes forwards again. So this is basically the door of the trailer, right? This is trailer loading. She does not want to be in this area. Release. Pick up, hold, release. I didn't see her move, but I felt the rope soften, so I'm assuming she released that pressure somehow. So I'm starting off with a light amount of pressure. There, I'm going to release. I was just about to increase that level of pressure, because you don't want the horse just to be sitting there comfortably resisting and pulling against pressure. You always want to start as light as possible, but if the horse is not really responding, you need to find a nice logical way of increasing that pressure for them to say, okay, I don't like this, I need to do something about it. So there we go. I'm going to pick up, hold, release. Touch her in between the eyes, say you're fine. Pick up, hold, release. No, she wants to pull back. I'm going to go back to applying that pressure. Release. Now again, it's not pulling. It's almost like, okay, watch. I can squeeze my hand as hard as possible, but she feels nothing because the rope is totally slack. Now I can just move to the point where I make contact with the horse and I just hold. So watch what happens to my body when she gives. Nothing. You see? So that's how you should apply the pressure with horses. So hold, release. Touch her in between the eyes, so you're fine. If you want to move back, you're going to get pulled on. Come forwards, release. Come forwards, release. Good job. Now we're just going to stand here for a bit. I don't want her to think that I'm forcing into an area just to tie her up and to throw a bit of water at her, you know? So I need your attention to be in here, okay? And this is where I'm going to give you a little bit of love. So she's thinking out. I want her to be thinking in. Good. She wants to think out. I'm going to be saying think in. Thinking of this from the horse's perspective, every time she looks away, she bumps into a little bit of pressure. When she's looking the direction that I want her to, there's absolutely no pressure. She feels, I like this place. I can't force her to look in this direction. She's always going to do what she feels like she wants to do. She feels like she needs to do. So if right now she's preferring to be outside, we're going to just say, well, fine, but every time you look away, you bump into something. When you're looking in this direction, you don't feel anything apart from love. So let's ask her to take another step forwards. Good. Release. Now she's in the right spot. Her ears are looking forwards, her eyes are looking forwards, or they were anyway. But she doesn't give me the feeling that she's thinking of what the escape behind her. Good girl. And I always appreciate these opportunities of calm, of quiet with my horses. There's a chapter in that book that I mentioned before. I don't know if the title is going to stay the same way, but it kind of just gives the message straight away. Chapter or the title is Horses Can Force You into a State of Meditation, which is exactly how I feel. When we go through all of the chaos, and then I don't know why I'm feeling a little bit emotional, but when we're going through a little bit of the chaos, and then all of a sudden we're in this position where everything just goes quiet, and I just start to feel the breeze going over my skin. I feel a little bit of a cool breeze. I start to hear the birds. I start to notice how calm she is. And it's just a beautiful spot to be in. So, as with trailer loading, and I'm hoping that we're going to do a session with trailer loading as well. I don't have one readily available. I'm going to have to find a friend that can come and give me their trailer for a couple of days. But the last thing you want to do is, once you've convinced the horse that this is a nice place to be inside, let's call this the trailer, you don't want to just close the doors and tie them up and, drive off. You want to say, actually, okay, now that you're comfortable here, I'm going to ask you to move back. And I'm going to make you do a little bit of work when we're outside of this trailer. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Doesn't have to be anything. That creates a little bit of a contrast of out there is a little bit of hard work. In here is where you get that calmness, that rest. Good girl. And then we go back to being quiet. And it's annoying working with a really long rope because you can't really do things quickly. But sometimes you do need it to give that horse, to give your horse that extra time to be able to figure things out. Okay, ask her to back up. Ask her to come forwards. So here, leaning in, hold. Apply more pressure. I'm just gonna wait. I can't really put much more pressure than this on the back of the line. There we go. Release, don't make a big deal out of it. Apply pressure, ask, good girl, apply pressure, good, pressure, good, good. There we go. Thank you. So you can see that she's still a little bit resistant to coming in. You know, she's almost preferring to be outside of this wash area than to be in it, which is fine. But look where her head is at. If you can zoom into her eyes, just look at that puppy dog look in her. Oh my God, it's just beautiful. Hey, baby. That's the look that you're looking for. That's a horse that really appreciates being with you. Now I'm going to stop right here and then apply the pressure there. Release. Good girl. Well done. You're not a dog. Okay. And I am taking my time with this because the next step is obviously going to be to tie her up. Okay. On that particular time, I felt like she was pretty calm. Didn't put a lot of pressure onto my hands. So it's good girl. So it's time to do the first level of pressure. If it's better if you have a circular what do you call this? Whatever it's called, you know, a circular thing versus a square, because a square can add a little bit more resistance than what you would want. But all you have to do is do one loop around, and that is not, it is not tied hard. You can still see it's like the first level of resistance with the tie ring. Yeah. So if she does feel like she needs to pull back, it's fine. Let's see how far she goes when I scare her. Perfect. If that was tied solid, you would see a different reaction. It's very, very important that she's able to kind of pull through it a little bit with a little bit of resistance. And the key here is as soon as she stops and thinks forward, she gets instantaneous and immediate release of pressure. That's what does the trick. It's how quickly can you release that pressure. So So right there, I'm gonna grab, ask her to come forwards. And that was a pretty long pull. You know, she pulled almost the entire length of the rope. There we go. Make sure that your fingers are well out of the way. I would never put my hands underneath. Good girl. That was much better. She fixed it herself. Now she's pushing into me a little bit. You don't want to be in a tight space with your horse pushing in. Keep that in mind. Here's a good girl. Just trying to make it a little bit uncomfortable to see what she would do. Good girl. Well done. Good girl, baby. Good job. Again, just testing things out. Now, I wonder what's going to happen when we put the water on. Again, I'm not going to tie her tight yet. There's still going to be a bit of give until I feel like, okay, she's got to a level where, you know, she's no longer bothered of being tied up. Oh, fantastic. They haven't switched the water on yet. Okay, so maybe we can go to the next level of pressure. Let's see what happens if I just add that. Good. Well done. So she's making progress for sure. Dare I add another loop? So I just want to see. No, that's too much resistance. That's almost tied solid there. So I may have to add that element of pressure with my hand just by holding it a little bit tighter. And that would increase the resistance and, you know. That's the right way. Yeah. But I do want to feel, I want you to feel. Good job. Well done. So I didn't even have a chance to increase that resistance. She just chose to come forwards immediately. Right now, as you're watching this, if there's been any question that you wanted to ask, go ahead and type it in the chat box right now, and I'll do my best. Hopefully, while we've still got her, to either answer them verbally or give you an exercise that, you know, just to add to some of the options that you might have in terms of how to work with this kind of an issue. Okay, we're going to let her go. take her out of this area. Now I'm gonna just back her up, make her work a little bit. And then ask her to follow me in. A little bit of resistance, still feel it. And I could do a lot more hard work outside this area and then rest her inside, and she'll become more and more motivated to follow me in. I'm in no hurry though. I've got a couple of days, a few days that I had in mind to work with her on this. And I think she's done great today. So this is the hard work area. Why do I need to walk backwards when I can just come in here and relax? Just like that. Yeah, there's no need. We don't need to be out there doing backing up, do we? We can just stand here nice and chilled. So here what we're doing is just simply making the right thing really easy, really comfortable, very enjoyable. And the wrong thing in this particular instance is wanting to be outside of this area. So we make that a little bit difficult. And here's where that feel of a horseman comes in. Some horses require a much bigger contrast. So maybe on another horse, I'd have to do a good 10 minutes of hard work and proper hard work outside of this area, and then come and relax them here for a good 5 minutes, and then repeat the process several times before they actually get the idea. With her, again, I'm starting nice and easy, testing out, seeing how much pressure I need, how much of a contrast I need, and you know, seems to be working quite well. So she wants to go this way, I'll let her go this way. This is hard work. And in here, I'm gonna pull. Good. Because now she knows the difference. So I'm gonna pull, make that uncomfortable there. Good. Gonna keep making it uncomfortable because she's kind of got it. She's understood the session. All she has to do is make the choice. Well done. All she had to do was make the choice, not figure out what to do. Okay, and again. Ask her to follow me in. Good. There you go. Thank you. One of the hardest things for anybody working in the horse industry to really execute well is repetition and consistency. those are much harder than sort of, I don't know, let's say being somebody that can fix problems that most people can't fix, because that takes minutes. The harder part is actually getting the horse to fully absorb that session or that lesson. And that only comes through repetition, 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 with a lot of consistency. You know, I'm not very good at that, as most people that have worked with me know. I like the big flashes in the pan. I like the big dramatic changes, and you know, I'm at my best when I feel like we're progressing relatively quickly. So that is one of my weaknesses as a horseman, and in other areas of life as well. And it's something that I've been consciously working on over the past couple of months. If you haven't read a book called Atomic Habits, and you feel like you're like me, you can be good with certain things, but for a very short period of time, and you lack that consistency, that ability to do repetitive tasks, go ahead and grab yourself that book. It's very interesting. Right. So for me, and I think for the main purposes of this session, for me, it's an absolute success, right? Why? We had a goal in mind, was to get her to understand how to come off of that halter pressure, not to panic when she's tied, and to realize that this washing area is a nice area to be. And based on the initial reaction that we had from her, when you saw it in the round pen, but I witnessed it firsthand right here, where she flipped and she fell down here, and then when I tried to tie her up loosely, she ran back and flipped over right next to that wall, almost smashing her head into the concrete. To this, for me, it's an absolute success. There's not much more that I'm going to be doing. There's nothing magical or amazing about this work. It's about understanding the concept. How does a horse understand? How does a horse learn? What does it feel like to be a horse in this situation? Put yourself in their shoes, empathize with them, see it from their perspective, and then think to yourself, how would I understand the concept that I'm trying to give? And work from there. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I hope that it's added value to your training program, any issues that you're having with your horses. And I guess the next time I'll be seeing you is when we're working on trailer loading, which will be pretty educational, I would say. There is one video that I've got, and that one was I think that one, or the one about horses that bite, I can't remember, but there's 2 or 3 videos that really got a good response from YouTube, people on YouTube. So go and check out, trailer loading on Elite Horsemanship. You'll see that video. That is with a finished horse. But you can see what we're going to be doing with Sapphire to convince her that being inside the trailer is an absolute joy and pleasure. And being outside of the trailer isn't really the best place to be. But the next video with trailer loading is going to be with her, and it's going to be on a live demonstration where we're teaching a horse how to enjoy being inside the trailer. So until the next time, thanks for watching. Take care. See you soon.